networker is like a great interviewer.
I'm huge on authenticity, guys. It's a big part of my message.
Claim your local listings and don't get caught paying someone for your local listing.
If you want to be successful, you got to do 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times.
And when in doubt, give to other people and don't expect anything in return. But in giving to other people and helping them, it almost always comes back.
It's using the power of partnership, creating trusted partner networks to work with you to make your company be an offer more than just you.
They've done 90% of the work. It's your job to do the last 10% to meet them in the middle.
Don't let the fear of losing be greater than the excitement of winning.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast, brought to you by Advanced Septic Services. My name is Galen.
Good morning, I'm Joe.
And we are coming at you virtually from the BD local studios in Tacoma, Washington. So, Joe, for our new listeners and viewers, can you tell everyone how our podcast came to be?
Absolutely. So it first started off as just a private Facebook group page where we wanted to bring different businesses together to kind of communicate with one another so they can just, in a nice environment, just be able to share tips, ask questions, and just kind of coach each other. We thought, what a better way than to bring businesses together in a podcast, bring different guest speakers on to talk about all different topics. And somehow it relates to business. So that way our audience can have a takeaway from each episode and be able to implement that into their business.
Awesome. So our last episode, we had Terry Dry, unofficially known as the godfather of social media, right? So that was a cool guest we had. What was one of your takeaways that we had when he was on our last episode?
I wrote a whole page of them, but just to knock it down to a couple of them. The first one is just don't be afraid to pivot your business when it's necessary, and always hold on to the A players in your company. So sometimes if you need to pay those A players a little bit more to keep them, and they're a key person in your company, then absolutely that's what you need to do.
My main takeaway was the difference between marketing and advertising, which a lot of businesses, Lucas, you could probably agree, they think it's the same, but it's not. And one quote, good things are attracted, not pursued. So if you have something that people want, that's kind of how you develop the engagement, which is a good transition to our guest, Lucan Caneda, all the way from France. So Joe, can you give a formal introduction to Lucas, please?
Absolutely. I was so stoked to have Lucas on today. But so his bio, born in Argentina, Lucas has always been a sports fan. In fact, he played a lot of football and taekwondo, but rugby has always been his passion. Currently living in France since 2015, where he came to follow his dream of becoming a professional rugby player. Studied a bit of engineering, management, and economics, and he is a self-taught nutrition and fitness. Since he was very young, he's always been an entrepreneur in many different things like esports, event organization, food, real estate, fashion, sales, and distribution. So as if being a professional rugby player isn't busy enough, he's also now the global team lead with Unicorn Incubator, Accelerator, and Challenger X. Everyone, please welcome Lucas.
Hey guys, thank you, Joe, for that introduction. I think you said it even better than I would. So thank you for that.
So real quick, before we get started, just a quick question. So can you tell everyone in about 30 seconds what Unicorn Incubator is for people just, figuring out what you guys do?
Sure. If we need to give it 30 seconds, what I would say is that we are an accelerator. So we take startups in whatever stage they are, usually at an early stage, and then we help them by customized, personalized propositions and with our workforce and our knowledge to scale.
Is that
awesome.
For just is that for just sports teams, or is this businesses in general?
No, that's businesses in general. We do only tech though.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on. So our Valor Cares initiative, before we get started, is something that we're really proud of that we launched in April of 2019. Joe, can you shed some light on our hashtag Valor Cares promotion, please?
Absolutely. So it's just a way for us to give back as a marketing company and as a business to businesses who need a website. So whether they need a website to start for a startup company, they have an old website that's outdated, or, you know, their best friend's cousin's brother who built their website doesn't have access to it. It's just a way for us to reach out and help the community and build some free websites every single month for businesses.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So now we come to the part, our Advanced Septic Pump You Up quote of the day. So none other, a quote from the great one himself. So you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, from Wayne Gretzky, you know, so one of the most celebrated athletes of all time. So Lucas, if I tell you that, being an athlete, an entrepreneur, right, a self-starter, self-motivator, what's your take on that? When you come across businesses in the tech field or wherever, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. What is the first thoughts that come to your mind when I say those words?
Well, I connect with that right away, and that's the first feeling I have. And it's very important to say that if you don't take the risk, you'll never reach anywhere, right? So I think that's what it really means, and that's what it makes reference to take the shot, to get away of your comfort zone. Don't feel afraid to take some risk and enjoy the challenge. Of course, I mean, it is risky, but that's what's interesting in one side of the story. That's what makes it thrilling. And whenever you succeed at something that's challenging, the result and the feeling you get afterwards, it's a lot higher.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming off an Olympic year. You saw that with different Olympic athletes, right? When they reach the pinnacle, and then sometimes they're overcome with emotion. And there's a lot of things that people don't see that you give up, sacrifice. We've had other podcast guests previously who've talked about that championship mindset, your mental aspect of everything. But just taking the shot sometimes is just courage enough, little baby shots that you take. So
for certain. And something that's really important, the people, I mean, because it's a bit cliche, you know, and they don't really say it, but if you've got a dream, follow it. So I mean, if you've got that crazy idea that you want to become an Olympic athlete, for instance, go ahead, do everything you can to get there. Okay, if you don't manage to do it, at least you can say to yourself, I've done everything that I could, but be sure that you're doing as much as you can to get where you want to be.
Awesome. And there's a lot of parallels for that mindset in the small businesses and entrepreneurs, solopreneurs listening now in business, having that passion and courage sometimes do that, right? The pandemic forced a lot of people to do self-reflection. And sometimes what came out of it was starting your own business, following a passion that you weren't going to be plugged in. So we're glad to have you and kind of talk about this first slide of our Did You Know segment, how to integrate services and technology to boost your company's growth. So we've heard that in some calls, but can you talk about that a little bit on generically for businesses, and then what Unicorn does to help businesses?
Sure. And what we always speak about is the chicken and the egg story. So luckily the eggs comes first, and so you need to build your brand. In order to build your brand, you need to have a good name, you need to have some marketing materials, you need to have a good logo, and what you need to build is a story that people in the community that you're working with, that you want to go to, can relate themselves with. They connect with that brand, and you generate that traction, and you make people fans. And that's what, whenever you're building a brand, that's the most important thing, building that community. It's not just about the numbers, it's about people loving what you do, people looking forward for what's coming next. And in order to achieve that, you need to build a story, you need to build something that we usually call it hooks, that grab people attention and they keep them there. It's like a good suspense movie, right? You always want to see what's next. Well, this is the same thing. You need to keep people attentive and looking forward for what's next.
So what do you see when you come across companies? What are the one or two things you see they do wrong with not telling the story? Are there common things that you see that a lot of businesses do wrong?
One of the things I see, I don't know if it's wrong, I would say I'll do it differently at least, is that the way they build it is in my opinion, the other way around. So they start building a community, but they don't have something to tell them yet, or they don't have a story, or they don't have, something that's gonna be helping them. So first, have something in mind, create that something, create your brand, create your logo, your name, the colors, make it visually to cap attention, because if you only have one chance to make a first impression, right? And whenever the people see what you're doing, they see their brand, they need to want more right away. If you build that up and then you start promoting, then you start advertising, you start marketing, and you start getting the eyeballs, whenever that's ready, it's, in my opinion, at least, is way more effective than doing it the other way around.
I would have to agree. I would say that most small businesses don't do what you said in the very beginning. They don't have a logo. They don't have a story. They don't have a mission statement. They don't have a lot of the things first. Instead, they just start a company and then get that second.
Mm-hmm.
So how about this? I'm going to throw a curveball to you. So let's say the egg's cracked, right? We just came off a pandemic. So what would you say to a business that has a brand, good or bad, regardless, but now coming out of a pandemic, hopefully, how do you rebrand and restart that? So a company, let's say, had a 20-year legacy brand, but now they're forced to pivot. A lot of businesses have. What do you say to those businesses to try to recharge, or would it be just redo everything, or talk to us about that, your thoughts on that?
I think there's a couple of ways to approach that question. I do like that curveball that you sent. So, sorry. But I do think that people need to understand this. What is their market? What are the people they want to reach out to? What are they providing? What solution are they providing? And what problem are the people facing that this company, this brand is going to help them with? Whenever you have that side of the story more clear, you should be able to craft the story around that. You should be able to craft whatever you're doing to focus on that side. And if you know how people react or what people are looking for, you can adapt what you're doing to reach out to them organically. That's one of the things we do a lot here at Unicorn. And I'm sorry to bring the example up, but we do article syndication, which sounds to be something that every digital marketer does. Okay, but we do it differently. Instead of crafting articles and hoping people would reach out to them, look for them, search for it, well, we do it the other way around. We see what people are looking for, what are they needing, what do they want, and then whatever we produce, it's made for that, for them, to focus on that market, on those clients.
So it's almost like you're reverse engineering the content, right? So instead of, like you said, traditionally, I mean, we're a digital marketing company. We do some article syndication, putting something, crossing your fingers, hoping you'll actually study the audience and like, all right, this particular company, their ideal people are 45 and old women, right? So you're going to find what they're into, create that content, and then almost dangle it in front of them, right? So they could engage with it more, as opposed to the guessing approach.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the problems we see a lot with the startups as general, is that many of them are not solving any problems. They are probably creating new problems instead of having a solution, something that people really need or want in this case. So instead of giving them an added value, you're just creating some more friction to the environment instead of having a good approach. And whenever you try to sell that, whether it's a product or a service, then you will have a lot of friction, a lot of on your funnel, you will have lots of losses. No matter how many people you throw in the top of the funnel, at the end of the day, the conversions are going to be a lot less. The engagement is going to be lower. And a business, a startup, a company that doesn't sell, at the end of the day, they go bankrupt.
Can you share an example of a case study that you guys have done to do this? Because obviously there's been the traditional model, you hope and pray, you syndicate articles and you hope people latch onto it. But with your approach, what is one of your main biggest success stories of oh, we did this and they increased X, they doubled or tripled in size? Or share an example if you could, please.
I don't remember examples by heart, to be honest, but because we work with many different clients, because we at our incubator we run two different things, I would say. So we run what we call mostly the incubation acceleration process, where we bring the startups in and we accompany them for a longer period of time. But we also run specific marketing campaigns, and we run those for our clients every time. So we've got many examples in that case. But what I will tell you is, if you look for the amount of times a specific keyword has been searched, and we have that information, and then your brand wants to focus on 10 different keywords. Okay, let's find out if those keywords are being searched for first thing, right? Because if you have an important keyword that you think it's good, but at the end of the day, nobody's looking for it, oh, guess what?
What does it matter?
100% of zero, it's always zero.
Right.
So that's the approach that we take, and that's how we craft and we produce stuff that's more significant, that you can say, okay, there's 1 million people looking for this specifically. Okay, let's approach this market, because if you get a tiny bit of that, it's a lot more than getting a huge piece of almost nothing.
Right.
Can you share then a couple of tips for our audience in some organic reach, examples of different types of marketing that businesses should be doing that probably are not doing?
Yes, you go to Google yourself and you write down any keyword that you're looking for. For instance, rugby games. Okay, there would be millions of searches for that. Well, we go a little bit more specific. You put watch rugby game live now, for instance. Okay, that's more specific. You will get less amount of searches, but probably more focused on what you really want to do. So if you are producing something accordingly, and you are having your game broadcast live now, you want to be on the first page. There's no other way to say it. Because if you go to Google, if you go to Google, we all know that nobody is looking for any piece on the 27th page, right? So if you're not on the first page, it doesn't make any sense at the end of the day. And that's what we do. So whenever we hit an article, we know that in the next 30 to 45 minutes, you can be number 1, 2, 3 for at least 10 different keywords that we can work together on Google News.
So using traditional and digital marketing to scale your community engagement. So this is kind of the question Joe was asking. So as digital marketers ourselves, right, we created this podcast, not really for marketing specifically, because marketing isn't really the sexiest thing to talk about. So we try to expand the depth, the reach of our audience with guests like yourself to help elevate us. But traditional and digital marketing. So just kind of talk us about, when you get a client, we understand digital marketing, but I think Joe was trying to ask the traditional stuff, what do you help incorporate that engagement?
Okay, so I'll put one of our own examples out. So we took over our rugby club, local rugby club, a small town, around a year and a half ago, let's say. So at the beginning, when we looked at the name was this long. And we asked around, and I think only 20% of the people knew the actual name. So that was a bad hint.
Right.
We were looking at the name, and at our eyes, digital marketers' eyes, we said to ourselves, what are the two most important keywords that should be on that name? First, rugby. That's the sport that we're playing. Second, the town that we are in, Sarlat. We looked at the name, a name that consisted of 5 different words. None of those were either rugby or Sarlat. So that's probably very, very hard to market afterwards. So those are the basics, I would say. So having a name that really connects and has that synergy with your brand, it's crucial if you want to get tagged, you get ranked, and get organic traffic afterwards. And then it comes about titles, it comes about tags, meta tags. I mean, the basics, you need to have the basics right whenever you want to start growing. Let's start by that. And again, one of the ways that we built our club out was from the basis. If you, again, what we discussed at the beginning, if you start by building your company and then trying to figure out what you will do, you will probably have a very hard time or probably fail. If you are certain of your basis and you know what you're doing, it's going to be easier to get traction and get the snowball effect afterwards.
Can you talk about social media for a quick minute? I remember when we first talked, you guys started with a small number of people following you on Facebook, and then like in a pretty short amount of time, you grew that to like, I want to say it was like 150,000. Can you talk about like a couple quick tips of how just your average business owner might be able to grow their following?
Sure. So as you said, we took over social media for the club with around 1,500 followers, I think. We focused on Facebook because we identified that Facebook was our market, at least at the beginning, and that was where we wanted to do a bigger impact. So again, you need to be able to identify the appropriate social media because there's so many today. You need to be able to realize what is it you want to focus on. Of course, you can have the others and you can do multiple at the same time, but the content is not the same. The target is not the same. So having that in mind, you can grow easier. And as you said, today we are almost at 150K. I think that's around 10 to 12 months over. And what we did is we focused on our market. What is it that we are doing? We are in a very small town. There's only 10,000 people living in here, but we are the 7th most visited town in France. We receive around 2 million tourists a year. That means we are a global town. Well, in that case, let's create a global team, a global brand. So our focus, it's not just locally, but actually worldwide. We did a couple of researches, which allowed us to identify our target even better. So we ran a research back in the US, I think it was 2 years ago, with with a TV station. And we asked them, could you please tell us how many people know the rules of rugby? And a week later, they came back to us and they said, I'm so sorry, but only 12% of the people know about rugby. And our reaction was, why are you sorry? This is great news. The guy was shocked, right? Why? Well, the reason is because I'm going to focus on the 88% of the people that's missing. I'm gonna bring rugby to them through our brand, through our club, through Sarlat Rugby. So we created, and we have a professional video team in-house, which is creating tutorials, different techniques about rugby, showing the rules to the people, showing the games. And another research that we did, which is also very productive in this case, was that around 65% of the people watching soccer, for instance, or American football, are the same people that are watching other sports.
Mhm.
So, for instance, someone watching a soccer game, he might stay and watch a rugby game right after. So why not bring to them, to the same people, our rugby content all around the world? And that's how we signed 60 different TV stations, streaming apps, and OTTs contracts all over the world to bring our content to their people.
Nice.
So when companies hire you or clubs hire you, is it a retainer? Is it like I sign up for 6 months, a year, a subscription model, or is it you purchase the playbook one time and then you implement it? Or how is the pricing model for companies when they want to hire you?
I think, Galan, you said one word that is very important in this case, model. We don't have a model. We do customized services and we do personalized offers, at least when it comes to Unicorn, because we believe that every company, every startup is in a different stage and they all need different things. So if I offer a model to 10 different startups, the results that I will get will be a lot lower than if I offer each and every one of them a specific approach to whatever they are looking for. So that's the way that we work. Of course, that means we don't work with as many companies as we could, maybe, if we did the other approach, but it allows us to have better results, lower the risks, and really pick who we are working with, because for us, that's crucial to success. We know, and researches and statistics all over the world show that startups and companies are a big risk. And the way to lower that risk as much as possible, it comes through picking, it comes through allowing yourself to have the means, being able to solve the problems, being able to identify good founders, passionate people that are working for the company. And we give ourselves that time to identify and to choose who we are working with.
So you're looking to really work with quality business people versus just quantity.
When it comes to our incubator, that's the case, 100%.
Okay.
If we talk about Challenger X, which is our sports tech company, we have a different approach because we have at least 2 different things that are for everyone. Everyone needs that, which are monetization and equipment, and we are providing that to the teams. So we can onboard, and we are looking to onboard between 50 and 100 teams before the end of the year, at least to provide them that part. And then whatever we do after comes what we call a la carte. So a more personalized offer after that. But the first part is common for everyone because that's what our platform is doing today. And it's a common problem that every amateur and semi-professional club are facing today, and we can solve it right away.
So I got another question that popped in my head. So Joe asked a question about social media. So I'm going to put you, I'm going to say something and I need 3 answers from you just off the top of your head. So if there were only 3 social media platforms for businesses to engage community in order 1, 2, 3, what are the top 3 for you?
What company?
Oh, now you're gonna put it. So let's just say like a home service company. If it's like a roofer or a plumber, someone has a problem, they Google something and they need someone to come into their home and fix a problem. What are the top 3 social media platforms that you'd recommend for those type of companies?
I would go with Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Okay.
In that order.
What about for a sports team?
I'd probably start with Instagram, Facebook, and then TikTok, probably somewhere around that.
Do you TikTok?
Sorry?
Do you TikTok?
Not myself, but with our companies, we do. I mean, it's very popular and the target is very different. So
Yeah.
it's usually a young community. That's why I wouldn't have it on Gallant's example. I mean, each of them has very good and potential power. Just need to be able to identify that and use it to your favor.
Mhm.
It's not just running social media because people say you need to run social media. Social media needs to be able to convert, needs to be able to monetize maybe, and find what is it that you want to achieve by having social media. Sometimes a company, some of the companies that we work with, social media is just a presence. So
Right. Just to have. Yeah.
exactly, because what is the first thing that you would do whenever you are looking for a company? You would Google it, you will go to social media and see who they are. Well, that might be enough for some companies that are not looking to market through social media.
Awesome. Well, I got another one for you. I need the top 3 for like a business coach. So if I'm a business coach or lifestyle coach, what would the top 3 platforms be?
LinkedIn, and LinkedIn.
There you go. Awesome. Well,
I mean,
we so appreciate you joining us. You're our first guest in France, so we're expanding our horizons and our guests. We're going to share your contact information with the different projects you have. So you have a unicorn, right, is the main thing that you spoke about, but there are other things that you could help businesses or some sports clubs with.
Sure.
So we really appreciate you coming on, and we'll share your information and everything. Before we leave, QImage 3, Joe, one last plug for our Valor Cares initiative, please.
Yeah, super simple. If you're a business that is in need of a website, you can go to our website, askvalormasterminds.com, and there's a Valor Cares page. Just go and submit your information, and we pick some winners every single month.
Awesome. So on behalf of our sponsor, A Advanced Septic Services, my name's Galen.
Joe?
Lucas, thanks for joining us from the BD local studios in Tacoma, Washington. Thank you for watching this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast. Thanks, guys.